So hello everyone, today we are going to talk about agile methodology and the techniques and tools surrounding the agile system, or let's say the agile framework. Today we will be looking into the general view, or let's say the introductory part on agile. So we will just looking into the topics and some of the tools that we use in that agile practitioners, or let's say the agile framework people who believe in agile framework use. And uh, first we will be looking into the what is a traditional system and what is a agile planning system. In traditional system, the requirements and all these life cycles are in a waterfall kind of fashion. For example, that first requirements are adjusted and design will come, and then people will have a they will develop the product, and they will do certain testing, and they will deliver it. This is a traditional system. But in agile system, or let's say in agile framework, first there are multiple iterations of these sectors. For example, requirement, and once the requirement is collected, there will be some planning, decisions will be made, and quality and quantitative testing will be done, frequent delivery will be there, and in this way, according to the customer need, the feedback loop, and as per the feedback loop, the iterations are performed. If we look into the agile methodology, then in agile methodology, first the it's same as waterfall, but there are multiple iteration of it, and final product is based upon lots of iteration and lots of changes on each cycle. And in this way, same, and there is a new concept of sprint, which we will be discussing later on in the coming segment of the video. And collaborative design development is there. So these definitions may vary as per the practitioners, but in summary, these are the basic points. If you look into a bit more in definition kind of view, or if we define agile software development, then it's a collaborative effort of self-organizing and cross-functional team, and with customers or end user uh, like requirement in mind. There will be adaptive planning, evolutionary development, early delivery, continual improvement. In this way, problem will be solved, so these all means the iterations. So iterations will be performed on users need, and the team might be cross-functional and self-organizing. Each team might be self-organizing. We have to understand that point also. And in agile software development, there are 4 core values, or let's say the manifestos, which we can see in Wikipedia, like individuals and interaction over process and tool, working software like over comprehensive documentation, customer collaboration, responding to the change, which we can see in the Wikipedia also. But and there are like some of the principle of they value on continuous development, and they welcome changes in the development, and the frequency is important, like iterations will be there, face-to-face conversation is important, individuals are motivated, and projects should be like individual who are developing the projects will be trusted. There should be a constant pace in the project. These are some of the principles that agile software development believes in, and on the basis of such principle, we are developing software systems. And there are various techniques, or let's say tools, which are based upon agile. So that is what agile means. Like it's a principle, it's a methodology, and it's a framework upon which tools are developed, and we'll be looking into those tools later on in the video also. But following those tools and following this principle, we will be developing the software. and this is like realized later on in the software development software development world. At first it was not agile, but later on they knew, or let's say they realized the need of agile, and in this way first there was waterfall, but it didn't work that well, so agile was like realized by the the software development world. And if we look into the agile framework, then there are a lot of tools and techniques. For example, Scrum, Kanban, Lean Startup, Agile Modeling, AUP, XP, Extreme Programming. These are all the frameworks specifically under Agile. So, and there are specific contributors to developing who develop these frameworks, and you can see in the Wikipedia for further action of these things. And it's not just about software development, but agile is also used in other segments, or let's say in other project management in general, like in other segments also agile is used. It's not just a software development thing. And if we talk about agile frameworks, or let's say agile practices, Scrum is one of them important practice. Like Scrum is a framework of project management which is based on agile methodology. It's a design of team, and these teams break their work into few goals, and let's say on the basis of time box iteration. These are time box iterations are called sprints, and these sprints are performed on a day-to-day basis, where they will have a time box daily meeting of 15 minutes or so, and they will also have a few stand-up meeting. And on such basis, sprint will be taken place, and at last and to sum up the sprint, there is a sprint retrospective. So this all thing comes under a Scrum framework, which is one of the project management framework. And if we look into further on Scrum, then one of the core segment of Scrum framework is sprint planning. In sprint planning, we look into the sprint backlog, and on the basis of that, we pick up the sprint goal, or let's say the backlog are selected, and on discussion and on daily Scrum, and those backlogs are like discussed, and like the goal or actionable plan for the next day is like discussed. Backlog is again refined, like it's not that things will remain in the backlog for all the time, like there will be refinement of backlog. And once the action part is done, then they will have a sprint review, where they plan next activities, adjust the backlog, inspect the outcome, what kind of outcome do they get, and finally they will do sprint retrospective, where retrospective means, we will come into this segment like in the next few slides, but it just means like what we have done and what we can do better for our sprint timeline. And just like that, if you see the Scrum framework, then first of all there are product backlog items, and these backlogs are created by product owner. Product owner are also are in continuous communication with the stakeholders, and this product backlog items goes to the development team funnel, and there the development team will create a sprint plan. They forecast the product backlog items, they do certain plans on that, and this forecast and these goals are set by development team. Then all those goals and all those backlogs are kept in a sprint backlog, and after multiple iterative of development and delivery process, like of multiple daily Scrum, of multiple product backlog refinement, all these things goes on iteration, and after that potential releasable increment is obtained by the team, and the development team will have a potential releasable increment, means a potential, like it doesn't have to be like final release at first. It will be a potential, just little releasable item will be there, and they will do again the sprint review and sprint retrospective. They will be doing that. For example, if you see here, then these are the development team, this is the product owner. Like in daily scrum development team will be there. Scrum master will perform the daily sprint, like they will scrum master will perform a iterative sprint, and in product backlog refinement, in sprint review and in sprint retrospective, the product owner will take a vital role. So that's what this picture shows. And on next picture, as we know, on Scrum, on Scrum process, the product backlog is there. From that product backlog, sprint backlog will be created by the development team in association with the product owner. And on multiple days, like this is a daily sprint iteration, this is a 30-day sprint iteration, sprint will be done. If you guys are still confused about what sprint is, then I might show you a simple example of sprint. For example, in running, Usain Bolt, we know Usain Bolt, right? So this is an example of sprint. Sprint means to, like, it's not a marathon, it's a sprint. Like things need to be done really quickly. It's like running. So this running takes place in the phases of 24-hour, or let's say in multiple days phase also, like 30 days. After this sprint, a small increment, working increment is found, and again we have already discussed, review and retrospective is done in association with the product owner. So in this way, Scrum process is we learned about Scrum in software development. Now let's go to Kanban. It is another popular framework in agile development. Kanban simply means a board. For example, this is a Kanban board. It's an example of Kanban board. Like for example, if you have some tasks to do, then you will keep first those tasks in backlog, and the tasks will be coming in progress, and after that in progress is performed, it will go in peer review. Simple example of Kanban board is that first it's just a board kind of. In Japanese, Kanban means signboard or billboard. It's a lean method to manage and improve work across one system. Definition is simple. We all got the idea, I hope, because of this image, right? So, and again in agile methodology, another important, or let's say another popular framework is related to user story, or let's say user story is just a software development product management. User story is an informal natural language description of feature of a software system. It's a for example, particular product owner will have a communication with a particular stakeholder, and they will like just communicate what kind of functional requirement do they need, or let's say what kind of feature do they need, and they will just write those feature in natural language, and that's it. That is what we call user story. And there is certain template, or let's say format, to write a user story. For example, as a role, icon, capability, so that receive benefit. These are some of the common template in making these user stories. And also the user stories use workshop with users to identify first the main business activities. Each of these main activity may involve several kind of user or personas, and on the basis of those user story, the user story mapping is performed. And these are the specific vertical. Horizontal axis correspond to the coverage of product objective. This horizontal axis is the product objective. For example, this is a business activity, this is a narrative line user level, this is a detail level, this is second iteration, this is a MVP. These are the tasks that we have to perform in a horizontal coverage of the in horizontal axis. The product objective is shown, but in vertical axis, individual users are shown in a story map. And for story map, we need user stories. And for example, example of user story can be, as the HR manager, I want to create a screening quiz so that I can understand whether I want to send possible recruits to the functional manager. This is our user story. As a disgruntled employee, I want to wipe out the user database to hurt the company. This is another user story. It's just a common. So on the basis of this common template, we can create user stories. And also, if we have to learn more about user stories, then in Agile project management section of Atlassian document, I think it's a documentation section, or let's say a blog section, you can get idea that user story is the smallest unit of work in an Agile framework. It's an end goal, not a feature, expressed from the user's perspective, that is in natural language perspective. And first there is initiative, and the epics are there, and under epic there are story or tasks are there. In this way, user stories, as a persona, I want to show that these are the user story example. We have already seen that, right? So you have to keep these things in mind while creating user stories. And I think user story creation is like one of the initial phases in project management, or let's say in Agile framework. Yeah, we have already seen what's sprinting. Now we all know what sprint, or let's say what Scrum means. And also Scrum sprints are like short time box period of a Scrum team work to complete a, yeah, we have already discussed about this. And for example, there is a sprint planning, there will be a daily Scrum, sprint review, and sprint retrospective. This is a sprint cycle, and this is a usually while sprint planning there will be a product backlog, and while daily Scrum there will be a sprint backlog. While sprint review there will be increment or demo, sprint review. In this way sprint cycle is performed. Now we have already learned about Scrum, right? So let's and also I was telling you about retrospective. Retrospective means identify how to improve teamwork by reflecting on what worked, what didn't, and why. We recommend running a retrospective with the team every couple of weeks or in the process. So yeah, like what worked, what didn't work. So look, what worked, what could have been better. This identification and this communication means retrospective. And there are multiple templates to perform this retrospective, and you can see on online tools like Atlassian also. So these are some of the few examples that we learned about Agile framework, or let's say Agile methodology. There are multiple framework in Agile which we have seen on Wikipedia. Like there are multiple framework, and out of these all we learned some of the few important ones. Everyone are important, but we learned about Kanban, we learned about Scrum in short, general understanding of Scrum. We also, I think we learned about Kanban and user story. This comes under the practice, Agile software practice. We learned about refactoring, retrospective, and we will be learning about these things in the days to come. But these are pretty simple, like they are related to with each other. Now let's go let's see, like we till now have learned about Agile. Now how Agile is being practiced in real life, or let's say in professional life. There are certain tools, for example Asana is there, Trello is there, even GitHub provides, like GitHub project section provides you some of the templates that you can use in order to practice Agile methodology in your software development. But let's see first on Asana how the templates are given, and with these templates we can definitely create our project. We can manage our projects. So for example, there is a certain template where meeting agendas are listed. Meeting agendas are assigned to respective team people. Due date is given, priority is given. This sort of what should I tell? It's just a workflow tool. It's just a workflow tool, and this comes under that we have just learned about. It comes under Agile. For example, if you have to learn about request workflow, then you can manage your works on the basis of new requests, backlog, in progress. If you also want to have some sort of workflow, or let's say some sort of management of your one-to-one meeting, then you can list accordingly. Like discussion topic can be listed here, action items can be listed here. Stand-up meeting can be done similarly. Customer feedback can be done similarly. Creative request like inbox in progress creative review can be done accordingly. Multiple things are there. Customer feedback, bug tracking on the basis of product, like everything, like every kind of task is like covered up by Agile, and these tools are there here to provide you, or let's say help you. For example, let's see one of the let's see on engineering project plan, and let's use this template, and let's see how things happen here. For example, I'm creating an engineering project plan, and on engineering project plan, on planning phase, we are doing certain tasks. For example, I am doing this task. This task detailed description can be written here, and with your team you can discuss who is to be assigned on this task. For example, I assign here myself, and what is the due date for this task. Let's say today is 22, we can keep it as 24 of December. What is the priority of this task? This kind of things can be done with team, and this kind of planning is easily helped by using these tools. Again, not just only planning, you can also set milestones in the plan. You can set next steps back. You can again like add actions. Anything can be written, like you can add tasks. This is just template, okay? And using this using this table, you have a board kind of view. For example, you can drag and drop these things here and there and just manage your project. And there is a timeline based on due date. I think there was a due date section, and it just takes time because just I have in planning also there was a certain tax. For example, in planning instruction, this tax as a due date of 24, and which was defined like in this list section. So simply you can see how beneficial these tools are. Calendar is also set by that, workflow is set by that, dashboard as a different section where you can see incompleted tasks, overdue tasks, message is for like teammates, and file, what kind of file you are sharing. So simply Asana helps. There are similar tools, not just Asana, there are multiple tools, but you can see those tools. There are free tools. I advise you guys to use free tools. And for example, Trello is another similar tool that you can use Kanban boards here. For example, in engineering, and if you go to game development template, and if I use this template, let's see, then it's just a Kanban board, to do in progress box done. These are similar things. You can also keep the team members here. Same thing as Asana, we have already seen this. Now let's see one of a similar system is given by GitHub tool. For example, you can set your project in table view, you can set your project in board view, or team backlog, or feature view. I will go with the board view, or let's say I will go with the feature view. I am creating a certain feature. I am working on a certain feature, okay? Then I will, with the help of this template, and this is the same thing as in Asana. For example, I will be creating the tasks here. I will assign someone here, okay? For example, I assign someone here. I will keep this as in progress. I will set the iteration, like this is a correct iteration, and I can also link pull request here. Now on the basis of my tax, I'm getting a board where in my tax is in progress, and in on the basis of that, I will get the next iteration board 2. I will get the planning board 2. In this way, project management tools are like really on the field. Like you can use those tools that I have just shown you, like those comes really handy while performing your project. And I hope you learned a little bit more about Agile methodology today, what Agile is, what are some of the frameworks popular in Agile, and what are the real life example of that. I hope you guys got some of the idea, and Let me know on the comment section what you want to learn specifically on Agile, or let me just tell me in general what do you want to communicate with me, and I will be addressing those things in the next video. Thank you for watching, and thank you.